Have you heard what happened in all of Judea? Have you heard? Yes, we've heard what happened in all of Judea. This Jesus they crucified has risen from the dead. And Mary Magdalene and the Blessed Mother, they went to the tomb early to prepare the body again with spices. And you remember at his birth that the wise men, the three kings, brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. The myrrh was a sign of his death. It was foreshadowing his death. But now the tomb was empty. We don't need to put anything on a living person, on a glorified, risen Christ. In one of the other accounts, you heard this. He ran to the tomb. The other disciples, John. So being younger, he outran the old man. And he got there first, but he didn't go in, and that is a sign of a respect for Peter as the lead apostle. And John is kind of a reflection of us who waits and respects the authority and the hierarchy of the church. Right? That's what we do. When I was ordained and in my process, we had to take a vow to that, to be faithful to the church. Even sometimes if it's against our understanding, to be faithful. Last night I talked about the 7 wonders of the world. Do you know any of those? There's 7 ancient and there's 7 new wonders of the world. And I'm going to share those with you. Let me get it here. Okay. The ancient ones are the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the statue of Zeus, the temple of Artemis, the mausoleum of Halicarnassus, the Colossus of Rhodes, and the lighthouse of Alexandria. Right? These are all, think about these things. The Colossus has collapsed in an earthquake. And the 7 new wonders of the world, the Great Wall of China, Christ the Redeemer statue, Machu Picchu, I guess it's Chichen Itza, Roman Colosseum, the Taj Mahal, and Petra. Well, these are great wonders of the world, aren't they? But there's one thing that's a better wonder than that. The empty tomb of Jesus Christ, where many people go to the Holy Land to visit. And it says, you heard in that gospel passage, how they stoop down to look in. If you've ever been to the Holy Sepulchre, it's very tiny. It's probably maybe from this pew to this pew and maybe only about that wide. And that's where Jesus was laid. And I had the wonderful privilege to be in there while they celebrated Mass when I was still a seminarian. It was powerful, being right there in the tomb of Jesus. That's really the wonder of the universe. All these other things are garbage compared to that, really. So I emphasize this today because in our lives, through our baptism, which we commemorated today in the sprinkling, we run to a tomb also. We run to a tomb, and that tomb is the death of ourselves, to our vices and so forth. Right? Those need to stay in the tomb. What needs to resurrect is we who are made in the image and likeness of Christ. When we went down into baptism, whether you were immersed or sprinkled, you came up a new creation. And now we live in Christ Jesus. Right? He came and took on our humanity because the humanity that was originally formed from the earth had now become tainted by original sin. So when Jesus came and took on that humanity, he made it new again. He made it new. He restored it. So St. Paul, that's why he says, I no longer live, but it is Christ who lives in me. So we are forgetful of ourselves, and we should take tremendous joy in that. Because when Christ is in us, there's no better way to live. There's no better way to exist. There's no better way to be truly alive. That's how we're alive. I'm not talking about our heart beating and we're breathing. I'm talking about the life in us that is of Christ and which is eternal. So our bodies will die, but we will go on and we will get back resurrected bodies at the end of time. Thanks be to Jesus Christ, who resurrected from death. He left that in the tomb. The death stayed behind, but he came out of that tomb. There was such a burst of energy that the Shroud of Turin was marked in such a way that it's three-dimensional. They were able to reconstruct what he looks like. You could see his wounds on the shroud from his hands and his feet. But there's no explanation for how that image got there. It isn't painted. They've studied that. All they know is it's a tremendous burst of energy. Remember, the stone was very heavy, and that stone was rolled away by this burst of energy. That divine life. And that divine life, my brothers and sisters, is what we are about to receive in the Eucharist. That divine life. Yes, he's in the tabernacle now, the glorified, risen Christ, the same Christ that Peter, James, and John saw on the mountaintop when he was transfigured. That's the Jesus that we are going to receive today. So let that life come into you. Receive that light. Say goodbye to the old self. We have to do that over and over and over. Because why is that? The old self doesn't want to die. But it has to go away. So we're going to run to the tomb of the resurrected Christ, but we're going to run away from the tomb of our vices and our old self. Let that stuff stay in the tomb and rot. But let us not carry it within us, because we're resurrection people now. We're people who carry the light. I talked about that, the light of Christ that came into this church, and this church was in complete darkness. And that one candle scattered the darkness. Though it was one little candle and this whole place was dark, the darkness could not overcome the light. And that's who we carry within us, brothers and sisters. We carry the light of Christ. We carry the life of Christ. We carry that divine life of the Trinity, because that's who we were created to be, bearers of the light and of the truth. And so today we're going to come forward. We're going to receive Jesus in the Eucharist, the resurrected Jesus, and then we too